Let's start with Stalker 2. So, you know how some games make you feel like you're surviving? Like, really surviving? That's Stalker 2 in a nutshell. The zone is the star of the show. It's haunting, it's dangerous, and it's unpredictable. What I love most is how it doesn't hold your hand. You're thrown into this place, and you just have to figure it out. It's like the game is saying, hey, good luck out there, buddy. And honestly, that's part of what makes it so satisfying. It's all about exploration, taking risks, and making decisions that can completely change your experience. If you've played the original Stalker games, you already know this isn't your typical shoot and loot affair. You're scavenging, crafting, and constantly managing your resources. And it feels real. Ammo isn't something you take for granted. Food and medical supplies, you'll cherish them like gold. And don't even get me started on the anomalies. These bizarre, deadly phenomena scattered across the zone add this layer of tension that keeps you on edge at all times. Every step you take feels like it matters. The NPCs you encounter in Stalker 2 are not just background noise. They feel like real people trying to survive, just like you. Some might help you, some might not. And figuring out who to trust is all part of the journey. If you love a good challenge, or if you just want to experience something truly unique, Stalker 2 needs to be on your radar. It's not just a sequel, it's a love letter to fans of the series and a bold step forward into a new generation of gaming. Trust me, once you step into the zone, you won't want to leave. Next we have Returnal. So the first thing you need to know about Returnal is that it's a roguelike, which means you're going to die. A lot. And that's okay because every death is a chance to learn, improve, and push just a little bit further. The game drops you into this eerie, alien world where everything is trying to kill you. And I do mean everything. But instead of being frustrating, it's exciting. Each time you come back, the world changes, the environments shift, the enemies move differently, and you're left wondering what's around the next corner. It's addictive in the best way. The combat is fast, fluid, and incredibly satisfying. You've got all these crazy weapons and gadgets at your disposal, and each one feels unique. Whether you're zipping around, dodging neon bullet storms, or pulling off a perfect shot midair, it feels like you're in a sci-fi action movie. It's chaotic, but in a way that makes you feel totally in control. Like, yeah, the odds are stacked against you, but you've got the skills to survive. The level design is so well done that even when you're running through the same areas multiple times, it never gets boring. You'll stumble upon ruins, weird alien tech, and these hauntingly quiet moments that make you stop and just look. There's this constant sense of, what happened here, that drives you to explore deeper. And this game is tough. It's not going to hold your hand or let you off easy. But when you finally overcome a challenging boss or make it further than you ever have before, it's the best feeling in the world. You'll sit there like, I did that. It's a game that rewards patience and perseverance. Next, we have Manor Lords. It's got a perfect mix of city building, real-time strategy, and historical vibes that make you feel like you've been dropped into the Middle Ages. It's not just about plopping down buildings and calling it a day. You're designing a real, functioning town that has to deal with things like resource management, seasonal changes, and the happiness of your villagers. And then there's the economy. Balancing your resources is a challenge, but it's the good kind of challenge. You'll be growing crops, trading goods, and figuring out how to survive through the winter without your people starving. It feels incredibly satisfying when everything clicks, and you see your little village thriving with bustling markets and happy villagers. It's like, look at my kingdom, I did that. But wait, there's more. Combat. Oh yeah, Manor Lords isn't just about peaceful town building. There's also real-time strategy for those of us who want to flex our military might. The battles feel epic, with soldiers marching in formation, archers raining arrows, and cavalry charging in for that dramatic finish. It's not overly complicated, but it's strategic enough to keep you on your toes. Plus, the scale of it all feels just right. You're not commanding thousands of units, but it's big enough to feel like a real medieval skirmish. One thing I absolutely love about this game is how much freedom it gives you. Want to focus on being a benevolent lord who builds a prosperous town and trades with neighboring regions? Go for it. Want to be a conqueror, expanding your territory and crushing anyone who gets in your way? Totally an option. If you haven't tried it yet, do yourself a favor and jump in. Next we have Forza Horizon 5. Even if you're not a racing game person, trust me, you'll still find something to love here. It's like a love letter to cars, exploration, and just having a good time behind the wheel. Remember when you used to race toy cars around your living room, making up little adventures as you went? Forza Horizon 5 brings that same energy, but cranks it up to 11. It's not just about winning races, though that's fun too. It's about playing. The freedom you have to do whatever you want is amazing. They've got everything from souped-up classics to hypercars that look like they belong in a sci-fi movie. And the customization. You can tweak everything. Paint jobs, performance, even little decals. It's like a car nerd's dream come true. But don't worry, you don't have to be a gearhead to enjoy it. The game does a great job of keeping things accessible, whether you're a casual player or a hardcore racer. The controls are just buttery smooth, and the way each car handles feels unique. Want to go off-roading in a big, beefy truck? Go for it. Prefer zipping through city streets in a sleek sports car? Done. It's not just racing, it's an experience. And the best part? You don't even have to race if you don't want to. There are stunt challenges, speed traps, exploration events. It's like a big automotive playground. And the seasonal changes? Genius. The world evolves over time. So one week you might be racing in dry deserts, and the next you're dealing with torrential rain. It keeps things fresh and gives you an excuse to keep coming back. Next we have Borderlands 3. The combat in Borderlands 3 is just pure, unfiltered chaos in the best way possible. You've got guns that shoot other guns, grenades that create black holes, and even weapons that yell insults while you fire them. It's not just about how many guns there are, though there are a lot. It's how creative and ridiculous they are. Every time you pick up a new weapon, you never know if it's going to completely change how you play, or just make you laugh out loud. And let's not forget the movement. They've really amped it up in this game. You can slide, mantle, and just zoom around the battlefield like a maniac. It makes every encounter feel dynamic and keeps the adrenaline pumping. There's nothing quite like sliding into cover, tossing out your action skill, and watching as absolute mayhem unfolds around you. Now let's talk about the world. Or should I say worlds? This isn't just Pandora anymore. Nope. Borderlands 3 takes you to multiple planets, each with its own unique vibe. You've got lush jungles, neon-lit cities, and even deserts that feel alive with danger and opportunity. It's a visual feast, and the art style? Still that iconic comic book-inspired look, but sharper and more vibrant than ever. It's like someone took a Saturday morning cartoon, threw in some chaos, and cranked it up to HD. Now, I know some people think the story in Borderlands 3 might be a bit wild or over the top, but that's kind of the point. It's unapologetically zany. And for me, that's a big part of the charm. It's not trying to be deep or serious. Next, we have Far Cry Primal. If you've played other Far Cry games, you might be expecting guns, explosions, and chaotic mayhem, right? Well, throw all of that out the window because this time, we're stepping way back in time, like 10,000 years back. Instead of modern weaponry and cars, you're rocking spears, bows, and a few other prehistoric tools that make you feel like a true Stone Age warrior. And honestly, it's such a refreshing change. There's something incredibly satisfying about hunting with a bow you crafted yourself, or sneaking through tall grass with a spear in hand, ready to take down a woolly mammoth. You feel connected to the land in a way that's hard to describe. You've got lush forests, snow-capped mountains, and rivers that glimmer in the sunlight. And it's alive with creatures you'd expect in the Stone Age. Saber-toothed tigers, mammoths, bears, you name it, it's probably roaming around. One of the coolest parts of the game is the beast taming. Yes, you can actually tame animals. Imagine being followed by your very own saber-toothed tiger, or having a giant bear at your side, ready to wreck anything that crosses your path. It's as awesome as it sounds. The game lets you bond with these creatures, and they're not just tools. They feel like companions. Honestly, it's kind of heartbreaking if you lose one in battle. What I love about Far Cry Primal is how it makes survival feel primal. You're not just running and gunning, you're scavenging, crafting, and fighting for every inch of progress. If you're craving something different, something that feels both challenging and rewarding, give this game a shot. Next we have Outward. This game is an absolute gem, and I feel like not enough people are talking about it. The first thing you'll notice about Outward is that it doesn't hold your hand, like at all. No glowing markers, no magical GPS telling you exactly where to go. It's refreshing because you have to actually pay attention to your surroundings, read your map, yes, really read it, and use landmarks to figure out where you are. I'll admit, at first it's a little intimidating, but once you get the hang of it, it's so rewarding. You feel like you're genuinely exploring a world, rather than just running from one objective to the next. What I love about Outward is how it balances survival mechanics with its RPG elements. You're not just an all-powerful hero here. You're a regular person, trying to survive in a harsh, unforgiving world. That means keeping track of your hunger, thirst, temperature, and even your backpack weight. But it's not overwhelming. It's more like these mechanics add depth to the adventure. Forget to pack a water skin before venturing into the desert? Well, guess what? You're going to have a bad time. But when you prepare properly and things go smoothly, you feel like a genius. Combat is another highlight for me. It's not your typical hack and slash fare. You have to think about every swing of your weapon because stamina is limited, and fights can be brutal. It's all about timing, positioning, and strategy. Oh, and don't expect to just charge into a group of enemies and come out unscathed. This game will humble you real quick. But when you finally nail a tough fight, man, that's a good feeling. It's not the kind of game where everything is handed to you on a silver platter. Next we have Black Panther War for Wakanda. Playing as Black Panther feels amazing. The combat is fluid, fast, and makes you feel like a total powerhouse. Whether you're slashing through enemies with those vibranium claws, or gracefully dodging attacks like the agile king you are, every move feels precise and satisfying. It's not just button mashing either. There's strategy involved. One thing I really appreciated is how accessible this game is. Whether you're a die-hard Marvel fan who knows every line from the comics or just someone who loved the movie, the game welcomes you in. It respects the legacy of Black Panther while also being fun and approachable for newcomers. It's one of those rare games where you can feel the passion and care that went into every detail. One of my favorite moments in the game, just roaming around Wakanda. It's not just a backdrop, it's a character in itself. The world feels alive, from the bustling marketplaces to the sacred mountain paths. There are little details everywhere that make it feel like a lived-in, breathing place. It's a reminder of what you're fighting for, and why Wakanda is worth protecting. And let's not forget about the villains. Oh, they're good. The kind of good where you love to hate them. They're menacing, they're challenging, and they push you to be at your best as Black Panther. Every encounter feels like a test of your skills and your resolve, which makes taking them down all the more satisfying. It's exciting, heartfelt, and just plain fun. It lets you step into the role of a hero. Next we have Disco Elysium. This isn't your typical video game. There are no epic boss fights, no laser shooting guns, and no saving the world from a galaxy-ending threat. What you get instead is a deeply personal, weirdly hilarious, and sometimes emotional journey that sticks with you long after the credits roll. The premise is simple. You wake up as a detective with the world's worst hangover and zero memory of who you are or what you're supposed to be doing. Oh, and there's a murder to solve. But trust me, it's so much more than just a crime story. This is a game about choices, messy, chaotic, and completely human choices. And the best part, it never judges you for them. In most games, failing means you reload your last save and try again. Not here. In Disco Elysium, failing is just another part of the story. Maybe you'll bungle an interrogation, or maybe your attempt at a dramatic speech will turn into an awkward disaster. Either way, the game rolls with it, and often, the failures lead to some of the funniest or most touching moments. The way the game handles morality and themes is another standout. It's not about being a good or bad detective. It's about being your detective. You can play as a bumbling fool, a philosophical genius, or even a complete mess of contradictions. And the game never forces you into a box. It's about exploring who you are in this broken world, and trust me, some of the outcomes from your choices are hilarious. If you're up for a journey that's more about the questions than the answers, give this game a shot. Who knows? You might learn something about yourself along the way. Next we have Nioh 2. The game isn't going to hold your hand. Nope. It's going to throw you into the deep end and say, all right, show me what you've got. But here's the thing. It's so rewarding when you figure it out. The combat is brutal and so satisfying once you get the hang of it. You've got these incredible weapons to choose from. Katanas, spears, axes, and even some more unconventional stuff if you're feeling spicy. Each one feels totally unique, and the game lets you play around until you find your favorite. For me, the dual katanas are where it's at. Nothing feels cooler than slicing through enemies like a total ninja. Oh, and the key system, it's genius. Managing your stamina during fights adds this extra layer of strategy. You can't just mash buttons and hope for the best. You've got to be smart. Time your attacks, watch your enemies, and plan your moves. At first, it feels like a lot to juggle, but when it clicks, it's like, okay, I see what you're doing here, Nioh 2, and I love it. One of my favorite additions to Nioh 2 is the yokai abilities. You're not just a badass samurai, you've got some supernatural tricks up your sleeve too. These abilities let you unleash devastating attacks, or turn the tide of battle when things get hairy. It's like, Oh, you think you're tough, Mr. Demon? Watch this. It makes every fight feel dynamic, and gives you even more ways to experiment with your playstyle. The environments are steeped in Japanese mythology, and every area feels like a mix of history and fantasy. You've got eerie forests, ancient temples, and fiery hellscapes, each teeming with danger and hidden secrets.